Hey everybody, in this video we're going to be talking about the X21 Type M, and I'm going to be going over the controls and how you operate everything off just two buttons. And to do that we're going to be using this Suzuki GN400 bobber I just finished up. So stick around, it's going to be pretty cool. Now, as I mentioned, I just finished this bike up, and it is an 81 Suzuki GN400, and we have the X21 Type M in it, and that utilizes just two momentary buttons. Some features on the bike. This thing at its heart is a 400cc single. It is kick only. It is a CDI powered bike, originally 6-volt, and it is magneto. We have a traditional filament style headlight on here. We have 4 LED turn signals. We have a front brake switch, a rear brake switch. We have an LED tail light, so this is running and brake. On top of that, we have one of the NWT ignition switches on here, and this one has capacity for a negative shutdown, perfect for this bike being CDI. Down low, I do have one of our NWT batteries under here. That's a lithium ferrophosphate. And of course, under the seat is where the magic happens, where we have the X21. So let's check that out, and then I'll get into operation of everything on the bike. Now, tucked away under the seat of this thing, we have our X21. That is mounted centrally right here. We have the bike's stock CDI unit right here. And on this application, I did use a two-phase GY6 style regulator rectifier. And this is going to help output 12 volts for this bike. It's originally a 6-volt setup. And then some of you guys are going to notice this little relay right here. That is not a necessary part of this application, but the CDI is starting to fail on this thing, so I needed to kind of trick the system a little bit to get it to work. Otherwise, the X21 has you completely covered for any type of ignition system, with it either being a positive or negative style shutdown. Now, some other things you'll notice on this particular application are the inline main fuse here. I offer this on the website, and that is because I'm not using a starter solenoid with built-in main fuse, because this is a kick-only bike. But if you had an electric start bike and you wanted to utilize one of the more modern starter solenoids with the built-in main fuse, you wouldn't have this. Now, of course, you can see how minimal and organized and clean everything is under the seat here. We only have maybe 8 wires running to the front of the bike. It's very clean up there. There's nothing really hidden in the bucket, not convoluted. It's just a nice, modern, clean system, and that allows us to just get rid of the entire stock harness. That is the idea here. This is the complete stock harness from this bike. I haven't made a single cut to it. I haven't used a single wire from it. All I've done is retrofit in the X21. I put some new terminals and connectors on, like my CDI and stuff like that, because it was a necessity and I wanted to update it anyway. But beyond that, that allows us again to get rid of the entire stock harness and just modernize everything, clean it up, make it just work a lot better and a lot more efficiently. Now, as mentioned, the X21 Type M operates off just those two momentary buttons on the handlebars for the maximum kind of clean setup. And this might not be for everybody, but for this particular bobber, it is perfect, because everything on this bike is about being minimal, kind of out of the way or subtle. And again, for this application, it's perfect. Now, I have a XS650 chopper. There's no turn signals on it. I have a single filament bulb. It doesn't make sense for me to use a system like this. So it doesn't fit every application, but again, if you have something that's more simplified, smaller in general, mini bikes, things like that, it might be a system that you want to look into. Now, I've made other videos on the X21 Type S, and I've mentioned the P before. The S is going to be your standard style controls, and you can see that here. We have the test rig that we've used everything on. That's a very familiar setup and easy to use, as mentioned. And the Type P is kind of in between these two systems, as you have 6 momentary buttons that you push kind of in place of your normal turn signal, headlight control, ignition, kill switch, that kind of thing. But let me show you exactly how the Type M operates. Alright, now I've mentioned it many times before, but this is the install guide for a Type M. The install guide is very similar. If you have an S, M, or P, it does not matter until you get to section G. And that is where it breaks down the control differences and how to operate it. So I'm going to be basically going down the list here, and it will be getting you guys familiar with operation of the system. Now first I'm going to be going key on, and what you'll notice is the headlight is going to come on slowly. It's going to illuminate kind of over the course of maybe a second and a half. That is actually a built-in feature called a soft start, and what that does is keeps the older style filament bulbs from just like getting hit with a bunch of voltage right off the bat and burning out. So this is actually designed to help save your old headlights. You're also going to notice that the turn signals are going to flash twice, and then the X21 itself has an internal light that's going to flash 3 times, which you won't be able to see. But that's all part of operation to let you know the system is ready. So we go key on. Notice that headlight kind of came on really slow. Now in the key on position, the ignition is set to off, and that is to help save your coil, because if you have the ignition on when the bike's not running and it sits for an extended period, you can damage the coil because it can't discharge. Now the taillight is on, it works as factory, you can see there, super bright. This one's an LED. Now if this one had gauges, you would see it would have like a neutral light on it, it would probably have the oil light on there, and you could see probably the headlight high and low beam, but this bike does not have any gauges at this time or dummy indicators. Again, it's a bobber, just really simple, everything's just very minimal. Alright, now if we go key on, you can see the turn signals flashed, lights are on. We go 1 press on the right button. Turn signal is lit on the right side. And then you just hit off to cancel. Left button, same thing. And again, press it once to cancel. Now, of course, the headlight's going to come on, and that stays in the low position until you change it. So here, we have our front brake. That operates just as normal there. Super bright. And then we operate our rear brake just as normal. Alright, now looking at our full headlight control here. Left button, you press it twice. That toggles the high beam. Hit it twice again. Back to low. And if you go 3 times, that's headlight off. 3 times again. You see that soft start feature again? But you can run headlight off. You still have your tail light. And of course you still have your brake light. Now the X21 also has some hazard feature built in. So if you go 1 tap on both signals, you get hazards front and rear. And then you can 1 tap it on either side, and then you'll get 1. Now another trick is, if you want to go back to hazards, I can tap this again. You notice it picked up the same timing. So it's all built in on the same timing structure. So the lights are always going to be in sync. I can almost touch these. But then just 1 tap either side, hazards go off, and you're good to go. Now while this is in the on position, what you're going to be seeing is that you would normally have a neutral light, oil pressure light, and then you could have like your turn signal indicators. The dash output wiring is included with every package, but for this particular bike, I'm just not using it. Now moving back to the ignition, once you have it in the on position, then you can crank the bike, and at that point you would just hold the left button. So we're going to go 2 taps. So you can hear the ignition is on this one. Now this bike does not have a starter solenoid, but you would just simply hold the button there and then it would activate. Now for the left side, holding the button is going to give you the horn. It is the loudest horn known to man. Alright, so we have key on, we're going to go ignition on. 2 taps, we hear the ignition arm, so this thing's ready to start. Now to kill this thing, we can do it two ways. We can either shut it down via the key, or we can go ignition off. So let's do 2 taps again. That kills the ignition. And of course, key off would do the same thing. Now this ignition switch again does have a built-in feature where you can wire it to a CDI for a negative shutdown. So there's continuity on the black and black with white wires whenever the key is in the off position. So you send one of those to ground, and that gives the ground signal to the CDI to shut down. Otherwise, whenever you have the X21 to the negative side, or the negative shutdown, that does the same thing. Now I've mentioned the efficiency of this system. Pay attention to that headlight. Normally on something like this, you would see it kind of getting dim and then bright again as you rev it, but this one, perfectly consistent. So it's charging just as it should. As a matter of fact, better than stock. Very consistent power delivery on the lights and everything. What do you guys say we go for a quick lap around the block to kind of show you what it looks like from the rider's perspective here? Now, this thing's gonna be making a lot of like crackling and popping. It's still a little lean right now. I've not tuned the carb or anything like that. But we're riding around. We got the headlight on right now. So just a quick thumb press away. Left turn signal's on. And of course, if you had the dummy lights on this thing, you would know that you would have it flashing as it needed to be. But turn signal off. 2 taps, headlight high, low. We can do the kill switch right there. 2 taps on the right. Turn our hazards on. This bike is just super cool. But yeah, from the rider's perspective, I mean, it's a quick reach right there. All you got to do is just remember that you have stuff on. If you don't have dummy lights like me, but all the normal warnings that you would get with any other bike, that would be there. One tap on the right, we got our turn signal. Cancel. I mean, you get used to it. I know it's going to be a common question on like how hard it is to get used to, but I kind of equate it to, it just taking a little bit of time to get used to anything, like learning what the clutch feels like on any particular bike. Every bike's different. It takes a little time to get used to right where that sweet spot is and stuff. This is just like that, Really not hard to get used to. For me, it's just remembering to use my turn signals. And one more thing, the X21 will not start unless it sees either neutral signal or it has to have the clutch pulled in. Now this one, I have disengaged the clutch. You do not have to use that, so this will not start unless the bike is in neutral. Just another safety feature there. But of course, that's the operation.
Okay, let's do a speed round again. We're going to go key on, and we're going to move through all of the functions of the bike. So key on, headlight soft start. We're going to cycle our left turn signal. 1 tap there, 1 tap cancel, 1 tap on the right. We have a right turn signal. Cancel that. You can hit them both at the same time. That gives us our flashers. You can opt out on one side if you want. Opt back in. They go back to a regular timing structure. Tap them both again and they shut off. We have 2 taps on the left to go to high beam. 2 taps again to go back to low. And then 3 taps is going to turn the headlight off. And that's our master headlight control. And on the left side, we're going to hold the button and it's going to give us our horn. And then on the right side, tap it twice, it's going to give us our ignition power. You hear it engage. From here, we're ready to start. And we can shut this thing down by either the button on the bars or the key here. Now we've already shut it down by the bars, but we can shut it down here, no problem. We're going to go key on again. We have our brake light.
operation front to back. And then if you hold the right button, that's going to give you your starter solenoid function. And this would of course have all of the corresponding dummy lights that would go with this type of operation. So there you have it, a simple, well thought out system that just helps you modernize your bike or create the most minimal look for your bobber, your chopper, your cafe, your scrambler, whatever. Just a cool system altogether. So if you have any questions, definitely let me know below or send me an email or something like that. Contact me through social media. I'm easy to get hold of. If you want to see how all the other systems operate, like the Type P, you can definitely check out those install guides on my website. They're free for everybody to look at and review. And you can kind of get an idea of the operation there. So check everything out on the website. Check out all the information that we provide for this stuff. And yeah, definitely helps you get rid of all of this crap and go with something just a lot cleaner, a lot more modern, a lot safer. Auto resetting fuses. It's just like, it's a nice smart controller. So yeah, hope you guys like this one. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. But I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.